Okay, so it's Sunday, Destin, Florida. It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's 64 degrees. It's supposed to be 71. And today, and the rain has stopped this morning. So don't know how long it'll be because the weather reports aren't always right. But it ought to be interesting. If there's a little bit of traffic, not too terrible bad yet. I say yet, okay? Because it's been a nightmare in Destin for a couple months with the tourists. But anyway, let's talk St. Michael. So I have a real big thing about St. Michael. And when I was working in Memphis at Platinum Plus, I worked with a girl named Strawberry, who I stayed friends with for many years, and she used to buy clothes for me too. And we danced together, and she was an interesting cat. She even came to stay at my house a few times. She was very interesting. A redheaded girl, looked like Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. She was real thin. She's a character. But anyway, so I worked a lot of day shifts so I could get out of Memphis at night to be with my daughter. And so, anyway, we were at work on one of the day shifts there at Platinum, and it was kind of slow, and this guy used to come in that was an exterminator, and his name was Michael. And he was probably about 32 years old, and he just loved the world out of Strawberry. He would marry her. He just adored her. And he was very, very nice. And so being that I didn't drink, he would buy me Cokes, and he would buy her beverages, and do dances with her and stuff. And he was just really nice. And he would stay for a few hours in between jobs. It was exterminating jobs, and he would, you guys aren't supposed to be in the middle of the intersection. So anyway, he would hang out in between jobs and visit with us and stuff. And so, you always make friends with the girl that's sitting with the customer and get permission to sit at their table before you just stomp it. That's just the way it is done. So, anyway, he come in one day, and he had given her this necklace, a pendant and a chain, real pretty gold necklace. And so she wore it for about half the day, and then I caught her in the dressing room, and she was taking it off. And I said, "Why are you taking the necklace off that Michael gave you?" Oh man, that's a terrible parking lot. So it's like mud. It's all full of water and run it out. Anyway, so she said, "I hate it. I think it's hoodoo." I said, "Well, I mean, is it like devil stuff or what?" She says, "Oh, I don't know." And she says, "I don't like it." I said, "Well, I'll take it." So, because I couldn't quite figure out what it was. It was a guy with a shield and stuff and a snake, and I wasn't sure. So I took it and put it in my locker. And so next day, this guy comes in again to come visit us, and he says, "I gave Strawberry a pendant yesterday. It's very important." And he starts to tell me this story. He said, "My name is Michael, and I was named after the Archangel Saint Michael." And I'm like, "Really?" And guys like to come in these clubs and they tell you all these stories and stuff. So I'm like, "Okay, really?" And so he goes on for, I don't know, an hour or so about Saint Michael the Archangel and the story behind it. I mean, word for word, just the whole deal. Very educating conversation. And so I'm thinking, well, I guess it's not devil worship stuff. So anyway, Because in the South, that's like very much hoodoo. if you're into all that stuff. But anyway, so he, the next day he comes in, he brings me one. He said, I could tell by your reactions when I was telling you about St. Michael the Archangel, and I just knew it was right for you. So he brought me one, so now I have two. I've got hers and his. She hated hers because she was like, this is bad luck. This thing's like burning a hole through my chest. It's no good, and all that stuff. So I was like, So anyway, I carried one on my key ring and wore one on my neck. And nobody really knew what it was. Nobody ever asked. And then I went to, I had a really bad week one week, and my babysitter in Memphis, older lady, that used to watch my daughter till I got off work, she said, well, it's because you don't have your St. Michael with you, and I'm like, you're right. And she said, maybe you should carry it with you this week. Then I was getting a car wreck, and that was really scary. And then so I thought, well, maybe she's right. So I get my St. Michael's, and have one in the car and one on me. And so anyway, I had a much better week, and I told her, I said, it's funny that you had said that before because I'm having a much better week. Then I found that if I was standing in the middle of an argument with some people or whatever, that as soon as they saw the St. Michael, it would stop. I thought, well, this is pretty intriguing. So then I decided it was a pretty cool thing, and I was buying them, and I located a place online and ordered a bunch that were really neat. And I gave them my kids. I had them in Bibles. I just was like St. Michael freak. And so I went to the local preacher at the Episcopalian church and visited with him, and I said, look, the St. Michael, and tell me about it. And he was like, well, he's really not an angel. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he was like trying to tell me he was just really not really an angel, not really doing God's work. And I'm like, well, I don't know how that is because it's in the Bible, and I've read some things about it. And I said, I was wondering if you had a good version of it so I could blow it up and put it on the front door of my house. I want to hand paint it. That will keep my house safe. And he's like, well, not really, but I have something. So he Xeroxed the thing off, and he kind of shook his head because he really didn't believe in it. And so, you guys are so dumb parking there. It's highly illegal to park there. So, anyway, oh my gosh. So, anyway, I get the thing all blown up, and I took it to the Kinko's, is what I did, I guess. And had it blown up as big as I could about get it, pieced it together, and then traced off of it on my front door, which was glass door, big glass door. And then I proceeded to paint it from the back of the door so it'd be protected from the weathers. And it was really cool. And that way, I didn't have to put a curtain up, and people couldn't just totally see into the house right away because the St. Michael was on the door, and it was life size. And even when that tornado hit the house, it was like the only thing that was standing steady was the St. Michael front door. A neighbor kid across the street that was mentally retarded and 30 years old had tried to break into my house to steal the gold elephant off the fireplace mantle while I was out of town working. And he had told this really scary story about how, when he tried to break into his house, all the spooky stuff happened and everything. And I knew it was pretty much true because some of the locks had been bypassed on the door, and there was like 5 of them on the door. And so the door was kind of ajar. And so I was like, whoa. And anyway, it was kind of interesting. So I've been really avid about the St. Michael. And I had actually given one to my former husband to keep him safe and everything. He was a heart patient and all that. And he ended up giving it back to me, just like Strawberry had done that day. She gave me hers because she claimed it was evil and like burning a hole through her chest. I think that's the same thing happened with him, because it didn't work for him because he was not good at heart. So it's a really great way to find out if somebody's bad news or good news, because if they're uncomfortable with it in any way, then there's something wrong with that picture. Otherwise, it's a great thing. Now, I do see it on the side of police cars. It's in lawyer offices. It's on the front of courthouses. I mean, it's a huge symbol. I've gone to a funeral. A friend of mine wanted me to go to her husband's funeral really bad, called me, and I'm like, I don't do funerals. Since my grandfather's funeral, I'm just not a funeral person. I try to appreciate them while they're alive, but she was like, I've really got to have you go. She kept calling me, even a day after the funeral. Please don't let me down. Please be there. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. So my daughter and I went, and I had one of my big gold coin St. Michael's with me. And she was just destroyed over her husband dying. And he ended up with Alzheimer's, and he was just a sweetheart. And it was really interesting because he looked like one of my first boyfriends, Vince Puglisi, I swear. Looked and sounded like him. It was amazing. Except he was taller. It was really wild. And she was just absolutely distraught. And I turned around and I gave her a gold coin because she really had trouble getting ready to put him in the dirt. You know, and it was a big, long event. That guy played guitar and wrote a song for him or something, and it was really long. And so, hours long. And then they were going to go do the burial thing, and it was across town, and I really didn't want to fool with all that because I had spent hours up there to begin with. So, anyway, I told her, I said, take this. This is St. Michael, the Archangel, the lead warrior into battle. And I said, take this and leave it with him so that he will be safe and be in peace. And she was like, really? And she started crying. And I said, unless you'd rather keep it for yourself. And she's like, no, this is wonderful. What a blessing. Now, these coins are really expensive. So it's pitiful when I give stuff away. But, man, I give so much stuff away in my lifetime, it's not even funny. But mostly because people have been kind to me in the past. So I guess it's like what they call paying it forward, maybe. I love people. And I love true, good, honest people. And I just do anything in the world for them. So, anyway, she did bury him with it. So, she was very appreciative every time I saw her. She's a friend of mine's sister, Charlie Henson's sister, and he even talked about it. Gosh, she was just, blown away when you did that, the day of the funeral and everything, and it's just, she just thinks you're the neatest thing since, slice of pie. And I'm like, well, thank you. I just was trying to do a kindness because she was so unsettled. And, we can't bring them back. I knew it was going to be a problem for her because that was her right arm, She'd been with that man for many, many years. And I was really worried about how she was going to continue on with her life because she just couldn't handle it. And hey, I don't blame her, It's really hard when you lose a good friend or a lover or something like that. It is very hard because now they're missing. And they're not coming back, It's not like you can just give them a ring and go, hey, how you doing? So do appreciate people while they're around. Show the love. You know, hug your babies. I mean, all that good stuff. Make a new friend every day. Do something kind for a stranger, because that's what life's all about. And people that are in, you know, over 100 years old will tell you the same thing. And how they made it through life that far. I was being kind. But yeah, St. Michael is a big thing for me. I just gave one away like a week ago to a tourist. A couple guys I was talking to. Ooh, nice car, can have it. I felt like an idiot because I did it again. But the guy recognized it. When they start recognizing stuff, oh, is that St. Michael? It's really neat. And then they know about St. Michael. Here's another one. Several years ago in Huntsville, I would go down and dress the girls and sometimes feature down there. And I was at the Silver Dollar Club, and my friend George owned it. And he was a foreign guy. Great guy, though. He went to jail twice over that club. But anyway, and then it sold out. And the last time I was there was a ghetto friggin' club. But anyway, I couldn't even tell you what they were doing in there. And it was down on University Drive. But anyway, I went in there. You know, a lot of times I'd go in the club and kind of look at the atmosphere. You can never tell with cars in a parking lot because some people take taxis and stuff. But and you go in and you kind of feel the atmosphere, see if there's money. And sometimes you just leave. So you check with the girls, you check with the DJ, you know, check with the bartender, say hi, and sometimes you just kind of feel it out. So I was talking to the DJ one day, and he was telling me his dad was in bad shape. His dad was in the hospital. And I was like, wow. And of course, I had my St. Michael around my neck and one on my key ring, and I think one on my car. So I went to work that next night over there at Silver Dollar, and that same DJ was there, and he was just a rattle cage mess. And I'm like, what's wrong with you today? And he's like, my dad is done. He said, as soon as I get off work, when we close, I need to be at the hospital because he said it's over with. I'm like, what? And he said, yeah. And he was just really upset. I'm like, why are you even waiting? He said, they won't let me leave. I need to finish my shift. And I'm like, holy Christ. So I turned to him and I took my St. Michael off my neck. I took the pendant off the chain and I put it in his hand. And I said, take this and put it in your daddy's hand when you see him tonight, when you get off work. And he said, why? I said, because it's St. Michael. And he goes, really? I said, yeah. He said, I can't believe you just handed me that off your neck. And I'm like, well, I did. I said, it's important. And he goes, well, okay. I said, he's the archangel, the lead warrior in the battle. I said, just put it in his hand. See if you can get him to hold it. And he said, okay. So he did. And as soon as he got off work, he busted a butt to get over to the hospital, which wasn't far away, the Huntsville hospital there. Anyway, I ended up leaving town. I think I went down and run Columbus, Georgia, and then went down into Florida and worked there, and then went back home and worked Memphis, and then came back down a couple weeks later. Walked in the club, early day shift, and that DJ was there, and he called me over to the booth, called me over the microphone. Big Red West, come over here. So, okay, oh my God, this guy's gonna let me dance on stage, which I did on occasion when I travel, but usually when they paid me big money. But sometimes I do them favors, you know, but I really didn't feel like dancing that day. That's usually why they will call me over like that. And I went over to the DJ booth and I said, hey, how you doing, buddy? And I was trying to be able to cheer him up because I knew his dad died, right? And so And he wasn't that old, this guy. You know, he was probably 24, 25. And so he said, you remember that night? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I got off work, busted, but went over to the hospital to see my dad because they said the party was over. And he was, you know, lucky to even make it as long as it was till I got there. He said, and I did what you said. He said, I put that pendant in his hand. And he held it, oddly enough. And I said, really? And I said, well, I'm sorry, you know. He said, no, don't be sorry. He said, my dad's still alive. And they have no explanation why. And he said, I really appreciate you. And my dad wears that St. Michael. I said, really? He said, can I pay you for it? I said, no. And he said, why? I will pay you for it. And I said, no. I said, other than the fact that I only have like 2 more left, but just like that, and I'll never get any more just like that. But no. And he said, why? And I said, because I did it as a kindness to help you. And it's wonderful that things worked out like they did. That's a true blessing. And he said, that is really something that St. Michael. I said, I guess it is. I said, I can tell you some other interesting stories about it, but yours is the best. And he said, thank you so much. I love you, Red. And I said, give your daddy my love too, okay? And he said, I will. And that was the most incredible story. Made me cry, just like I'm crying now, just telling you the story. So it's pretty incredible. And, you know, I try to share the happiness like that. If I see an important situation or whatever, I'm going to try to help whatever way I can. And to me, it saved a guy's life. So it saved mine a couple times before, too. So it's pretty incredible. So read up on St. Michael. You might find it very interesting. I do sell them on my website, showgirlltd.com, and do some kind for a stranger today and keep the faith. All right, buddy? Thanks for riding with me. I love you. Have a great day.